And family, thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders. Well, I want you to know that it is on like Donkey Kong. I'm streaming here live from the Watergate in Washington, D.C., where we've got a lot of war action. We've had Benjamin Netanyahu in town, and I've got to ask us all why and who does he think he's controlling? Just because he's in town, does that mean Turkey doesn't count? Lebanon, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi, Iraq? I could add up the countries, and we got 30 million pissed off Americans versus 2.5, or a total population of 2 billion Muslims versus 12.5. America cannot continue to fund a religious war, for in the Constitution it says, Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of a religion, but yet here we are and we voted for peace, but yet we're going to war. In news right now, we've got 6,000 bombs that are flying right now. You've heard me correct, America. 6,000 bombs, 2,200 drones just this last week as Russia's flying on in, and they're bringing it to them. They're bringing it to them pretty hard. I want you to know that. So we have basically it's going full on out. Putin's like, I do not care what NATO says. In fact, NATO has completely crumbled. Let's get this understood. The EU and NATO are nothing. They're completely gone. They're not tits on a boar. Europe, all you are is a crying child to the United States. Grow up, grow a pair, get your own army. We've moved a lot of our forces out of Germany to safe places such as Hungary, where they've got leaders like Viktor Orban that aren't using us as a woke wake-up call agenda. As far as Navy, good job. If we did retribution back on Israel, they ought to learn from hitting us with the USS Liberty that too can play that game. My question is, do we really go to war with Iran, or is Trump just bluffing? Well, I hope for everybody's sake that he is bluffing, because I don't think America deserves to go to war over a leader that ain't worth anything, and that's Benjamin Netanyahu. Don't think for a second that I don't back Israel, but I can tell when they've been overtaken by a guy that is corrupt and evil. He murders children. He's murdered media. We found this out. If you want me to take a choice between leaders between Erdogan and Benjamin Netanyahu, Erdogan it is. The days of Benjamin Netanyahu are long gone. America needs to recognize that. We can back Israel, but we cannot back Benjamin Netanyahu with 2 billion, I'm going to repeat, 2 billion pissed off Arabs and Muslims that have seen this man violate 2 peace accords and ceasefire agreements, while he's then gone in and murdered over 14,000 children. Hate to say it, these are facts. Other fact is, what makes our administration think it can do a public property grab and kick the people of Palestine out, and you think that that's okay with the people of Palestine, Saudi, Egypt, Iran, 2 billion Muslims? Fact is, Trump, it's not. And I would rather us concentrate on taking over the Panama Canal, feeding the people of Cuba, Venezuela, establishing good ties with Haiti, feeding the people around us, and doing good things as we take over Greenland. If we stretch ourselves thin with Israel, now we have an excuse for China to hit us in the Panama Canal or even in Greenland. Have you thought about that? But if we don't follow these endless wars of Israel, we have a chance for actually going on the platform that you said that you were running on. And that's the platform of peace. So I'm going to pray for peace. The people of the United States pray for peace as well. Now, if we're going to get it, that's going to be hard to realize. And I'm going to say this now, as the EU and NATO are noticing that they're crumbling. And the United States, I'm going to say this now, we need to abandon the EU. This chick Ursula is out of her mind to think that you can tariff the United States or tariff Putin. I think the European Union needs to understand that it has failed. You're a group of individual countries. You can never act like states, nor are you united. You've opened your doors so far that now you're letting El Cid and the Muslim invasion take place again, and it's only been 1,000 years, even 800. And if Europe fails to learn its lessons, I'm tired of donating our children to people that don't learn. And we're finding that they're basically just a whole entire bunch and ruckus of beta males. and degenerate reject mental people that can't think. Update on the Tennessee shooter, the girl boy, it's called mental illness. So if you have any transgender child, we need to set new laws saying that you're prohibited from getting near guns, because the statistics prove that you're mentally ill, and mentally ill people should not have guns, nor should they compete with our women in sports, and nor are you people allowed to serve in the military, because a question that is asked is, do you like yourself and who you are? And if you answer that honestly, you don't like yourself and who you are. And so you're a danger to the platoon, the outfit, and you can't serve based off of being mentally ill. These are things that people really need to understand. Keir Starmer is also getting it right now from Nigel Farage. This is good news. Very good news from us. And Keir Starmer is acting like a complete buffoon idiot to Vladimir Putin. Putin's being very nice, and we need to separate ourselves from the actions of King Charles or Queen Charles, whatever you'd like to call him. But he is a WEEF buffoon, just like Keir Starmer is, and a danger to your country 100%. The best thing that basically the United Kingdom can do would be to get him out. Here's a news update as far as drilling and all my friends and family down there in Australia. Turns out I have 21 million acres to drill with ExxonMobil in Australia. I guess the Reinhardt family is also reaching out to us. We also have a good $100 million that Drill Baby Drill can participate. So what I'm going to need is some of my fans down there and family in Australia to open up an account for Christopher Sanders. And we're going to open up a corporation and then load it full of money. And I'm going to try to put some Australians to work as we drill for ExxonMobil for the shale resources in your northwest slope. This would be north of Perth. And the best of the best has contacted me so that I can basically not only drill baby drill in America, but we're going to be drilling down under as well. So get ready, because I'm going to be taking a kangaroo with me, and also a whole bunch of fighting chickens you might find. We'll see how you like it. All right. So there you go. Now, the United States, I'm going to let you know we got some plans, so I better learn how to speak like I'm from down under. We're going to be taking back the Afghanistan base that we gave to the Taliban. What do you think about that? George, you got something to say? Anyways, we're here at Watergate Capitol. George Hedling is turning and burning. I've overwhelmed Adam good. And so Adam, sorry about overwhelming you. Now we've got Hamza and George Hedling with Watergate Capitol. They're going to be on the team. And I'll give you some updates, and they're going to chime in underneath here so that you can basically invest in Drill Baby Drill or these other operating companies that we're taking over in the United States. Again, that doesn't slow us down from what we're doing in Australia. We have a 21 million acre project. This is coming to us directly from the government, and so I'm going to drill the Christ out of Australia. And so many of you people want me down under, you're going to get me, and I'm going to provide hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs down there, very high-paying jobs to people in Australia. And somehow your government's going to let me bring some guns because that's the way I roll. I would like to suggest that all of Australia and its citizens need to be armed against Chinese invasion. We need to also arm the citizens of the United Kingdom, Scotland, and Ireland so that they can defend themselves against invasion. We're on the verge of some sort of war, and it's basically citizens versus illegal immigrants, illegal migrants. And this is a catastrophe that is disseminating and has disseminated and destroyed Europe and how you've known it. The more and more you let this continue, the more every time you will look at every country as if it's been a part of your memory. And if that's good for you and you've let every single veteran die for no reason, well then shame on you. Shame on you completely. It's time to defend your country, your rights. It's time for us to kick out all of the Chinese investment in the United States. Here's a head up to district attorneys. I know that we're going around scouring and we're seeing Chinese investments in America. Another investment's coming from an individual, a private individual, and a friend of Xi Jinping named Shane Ding. Shane Ding has been competing with me in oil and gas for the last 10 years. Every time I don't win an oil and gas drilling rig, it's either Putin or Xi Jinping through Shane Ding. I'm asking that you seize all those assets. You can work with me through Doge. I will also expose probably almost $1 trillion in assets that have been purchased by the Chinese government. Our landman office is ready to work with you here in Washington, D.C., because I'm out for justice 100%, and I will throw every single illegal alien in prison as far as I can, mark my words. Now, the Taliban is trying to come up against us out there, but I want you to know that is not going to work, and we will be doing another single war. But there's something else that popped out today, and this is why I want you to know that Israel can't win. One, we can't back a liar like Benjamin Netanyahu. They asked me if I wanted to go in and sit around him. Absolutely not. I don't want to be around Adam Schiff. Don't have me around Dr. Fauci. Don't have me around Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't want to be around criminals. I've got what's called integrity. You can't buy me. There's no commercials here, period. I'm here to save my country, and there's a long, long line of grandmas and grandpas that are there with me. And you know what I'm talking about. Israel was caught off guard today as 40,000 Hamas men surfaced out of the blue, wondering where they came from. Well, I'll tell you where they came from, BB. You're stirring up the ant pile. It's called a religious war that you're starting, and those are grounds for Congress to stop funding you, stop funding Judaism versus Islam. But this isn't Judaism. As all my Jewish friends in America want to point out, this is not Judaism. This is a new form of Zionism that is evil, and you have to understand the difference between Judaism and Zionism. Zionists, like Benjamin Netanyahu, are in fact German Ashkenazi Jews that have migrated down from Russia, down from Europe, and they're only related to 303 Jews that came out of the book of Esther in 586 BC. They do not speak a Semitic language. They do not speak Arabic or ancient Aramaic. Therefore, they're not Semitic people. In the book of Revelations, it says in 2:9 and 3:9, then a group of Jews would come back and pretend that they're Jews and that they're not, and that they're really the synagogue of Satan. Now, do you want to call the Bible a liar, or is there any validity to this claim? That is for you to ask yourself. So before you say that you back Israel, do you back Jews and Judaism? Or do you back a synagogue of Satan and Ashkenazis that are not Semitic people? This is a question that I'm going to ask you with sincerity, because everybody should know the truth and the difference. As 40,000 men popped up out of nowhere, and I will say, tomorrow it will be another 40,000. The next day another 40,000. What part of 2 billion do you not understand? You cannot fight 12 million people against 2 billion people. In a day, we can drop the Moab bomb, we can attack Iran, all you want. All that will happen, and I want you to know Erdogan has put out the message from Turkey, that if this starts within 24 hours, he will ignite NATO, the second strongest force in NATO, who defected from the EU and NATO over the racism of Israel. Let's understand what killed NATO was Benjamin Netanyahu and his racism and his explosive pagers in Lebanon, and also his subjunctive killing of the president of Iran with an explosive pager in a helicopter and then blowing up a building in Iran, which is exactly like 9/11. But that's okay, because a guy named Silverstein, who owned the Twin Towers, collected insurance money on it, and the people of the United States are too stupid to understand, aren't we, that the architect made money off the terrorism? Oh no, don't tell us that Epstein Island was merely a covert location for the Mossad to collect information on our political pedophiles. We know how sick they are, and there's a place for them, and it's not called heaven, it's called hell. So as I'm here in this den of vipers, understand that these evil people waving the Ukrainian flag are the ones that are guilty for the 1,300 Ukrainians that died today. Understand that there's been 6,000 more bombs dropped. Understand that the United States USS Harry Truman was hit 29 times in the last day, and that this equipment is not coming from Iran like our politicians try to claim. It is coming from China, And if we start this war, expect a war front on Greenland and the Panama Canal, because we're trying to save a ridiculous, old, corrupt prime minister named Benjamin Netanyahu. So yes, I'm down for saving Israel, but we can't save it while they have a corrupt individual that is a war criminal that is murdered in the last year, that we've seen even on TV, more journalists than anybody else. I'm at the Watergate. I'm going to tell you how phony the Jewish media is and how upset I am. Right behind me is the United States consulate to the Saudi Arabian embassy, where MBS uses his office with the King of Saudi Arabia. This government is so wicked that they made the street sign Jamal Khashoggi, the person that they think MBS chopped up. Now I'm going to tell you something, as we have thousands of United States sailors and troops in the graces of Saudi Arabia, how stupid and asinine that is to disrespect the King of Saudi Arabia by putting a street sign in front of the Saudi embassy of a guy that you want to say had rights. You want to call him a media journalist? No, I'm a media journalist. That guy was a troublemaker from Saudi Arabia pretending to be a Jewish media guy, said bad things about the king and got his ass chopped up in Turkey. And we don't need to have bad relationships with the King of Saudi Arabia because of George Soros and the phony media and a phony media journalist named Jamal Khashoggi. So I'm going to be starting up Cold Halal Cuts. My biggest cut out here, when you go to coldhalalcuts.com, will be the MBS. My chopped steak, I'm from Texas, South Dakota, and Oklahoma. My chopped steak on the menu will be called Jamal Khashoggi. And I'm hoping that MBS will see the humor in Chris Sanders and Drill Baby Drill and get behind us, and let's stop the absurdity. And you better take that street sign down in 60 days. Why? Because we're fighting a war right now, and you're endangering the lives of our U.S. sailors, our Army, and our Marines, everybody, by posting an erroneous, stupid sign in front of the United States Saudi Embassy that says Jamal Khashoggi. I demand that you remove it immediately for the safety of every single soldier that we have in Saudi Arabia, and you do it within a month. I'm tired of these Democrat games that you're playing that are endangering the lives of our soldiers and our men and our women. You show respect to the King of Saudi Arabia so that we can sleep at night out there and our ships will be safe off of his shores. You show some respect so that we can get $1.50 gas. You don't show that respect, we're going to war. They're going to blow up our streets. And you can be content that the Democrats have Black Lives Matter on one street, which is ridiculous and absurd, and also Jamal Khashoggi in front of the King of Saudi Arabia's embassy. I demand that you remove it immediately for the safety of our soldiers, and get the lead out of your ass and do it today. I will be making a ruckus out of this with you politicians because I have had my fill of your crap. I do not want any woke ass games anymore. And the American people demand justice and transparency. I will show you this sign, and I don't care if I got to get 100,000 Arabs out here or 500,000, which is their population, to cut it down so that you can show some respect. Is that too hard for people to do? Or do you want our troops to sleep in fear tonight because you want to piss off the king and his son? Now, either this makes sense to you or it doesn't. It probably doesn't make sense to a woke tard, because you don't have kids or grandkids that are fighting in this war, protecting your gay ass as you're sleeping at night. But that ain't me. For God loved the world so much that he gave his only begotten son so that you could be saved. Well, guess what? Heterosexual parents give their only begotten children so that this country can be free. And speaking of which, right now we have a gold star mom named Tina Peters that's sitting in a prison because Colorado sucks. So Lauren Boebert, get off your butt and get her out of jail, and do it today. I'm tired of her having to wait in a jail cell. She's already lost a son defending our country. What more does she need? And if Colorado has to jail our county clerks for trying to get to the bottom of last time's election that we all know that was fake, think again. We will have justice. The tides will turn. And we will throw all of you erroneous judges and people that have done these sentences into jail. Why do you think I'm here with Doge, a fully retired oil man? I'm out for justice and out for blood. You screwed over my country, you've taken money, you're going to answer to us, we're going to expose you, and that's just the way it's going to roll. I've got too many people relying on me. I've known too many kids that never made it past 22 fighting a dog crap battle called Operation Desert Storm, which was a lie. And how many lies are we going to take? How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll, Tootsie Pop? Will the world ever know? So I don't know if this is going to be a Trump bluff, and I pray that it is, or if we're going to go to war big time. Trump is telling Iran that Iran cannot have nuclear bombs, and as they've waited for this day, well, they fired and they broke the vow on both sides. But we can't trust Benjamin Netanyahu. He's violated 2 ceasefire agreements. Just like we can't trust Zelensky. He's violated a couple. And if Putin gives you what you deserve, boy, well, you deserve it, you smart ass. I'm tired of giving you a damn dime, so are the people of the United States. Since when did the Ukraine become our responsibility? It's never been our responsibility. And when I was born, the Ukraine was Russia, the Soviet Union, the USSR. That's what they speak, Russian. Ukrainian, Russian, Ukrainian Jews, Azov Battalion versus Nazism. We're fighting a Nazi war in Israel and in the Ukraine. And the Jewish racism is destroying our country and Europe at the same time. Wake up over this racism before it destroys the world. Now, these are just some facts. These are facts that are coming. Again, Israel, you need to put another leader in. Understand that we're going to choose MBS and Erdogan over Benjamin Netanyahu. Understand this property grab. I love Trump. I love him with all my heart and would take a bullet for the boy. But why are you getting us and endangering our children over a liar? Benjamin Netanyahu is a liar, period. And all he wants to do is take over the world, kill babies. That's not supporting Israel. If you think supporting Israel means you've got to murder children, well, you have something twisted. You're not a Christian, and nor will you be realized and recognized into the kingdom of heaven. Do not fool yourself for being lazy, because wide is the path, and many take it, but few will find the way, and narrow is the path for those of us that follow it. So if you want to make a blanket statement that you follow Israel and pray for Israel, understand in the end of Matthew and Mark that the Jews today believed that Jesus was just a man and that this was just a story. And the last time the Romans and the Jews got together, they killed Jesus Christ, and then one aspect of it started the Roman Catholic Church. And it wasn't until 700 years later that Mohammed had a problem with the pedophile church, and his response was mainly against Catholicism, believe it or not, because they created their own synagogue of Satan. Then they had a guy named Paul changing all of Jesus's laws. When Jesus said, many will come after me trying to have the authority that they say I do, but in fact, they're the Antichrist. How is Paul not the Antichrist? If Jesus did not come to change one letter of the law, what gave Paul that authority? And remember, he tells you, as he writes, to remember his chains, and that he wrote the epistles from prison. But to be a Christian, you have to follow the gospel, not the epistles. These are just things for you to consider, because I want you to follow the straight and narrow path. Don't take the Joel Osteen way of, oh, things will be fine. Just give me your money on Saturday and Sunday, and you can do what you want to on Monday through Friday. It'll be okay. You'll be saved by the favor of God. It is a crime to denigrate the Bible to where you don't fear it and respect it and love it. There's 613 actual commandments. Moses made 10, but there's 365 good ones, 248 bad ones. And Jesus didn't come to change one of those laws. These are just facts as 6 U.S. F-15 Strike Eagles are loaded up with nuclear weapons as we speak with B-2 bombers. So we're looking at stealth bombers, F-15s, B-2s, Stratoforces. We're looking at everything coming at them. This is either the major pump and dump Trump fake, or we're looking at going to war. The threat is real with Iran, they say, but I can't believe that Trump is about war. I intrinsically don't believe it. I intrinsically believe that he's going to try to find peace, and that he's a good man, and that he's backed into this situation because of Benjamin Netanyahu. And I want Trump to consider, and America to consider, that this war with the Houthis, this war with Iran, is only because of Benjamin Netanyahu. In Israel, it's time for you to change your leader. Just like Great Britain, it's time for you to get rid of Karl Starmer. You need to put Nigel Farage in office. And we have many different candidates that we could throw in, even American Jews. In fact, I went down to Mexico and I said to the waiter, I said, "Are there any Mexican Jews down here?" And he said, "You know what, I've got to go ask the manager." Manager came back and I said, "Sir, are there any Mexican Jews here in Mexico?" And he said, "No, sir, but we have pineapple Jews and orange Jews." Anyway, sometimes you just got to keep it going right there. But we have a fiery revenge going on. America's going to war. We got a big damage report. Again, we've had the USS Harry Truman hit or attacked 29, 30 times just in the last day. I don't believe any of it was successful. But again, every single bomb that's headed our way has got Benjamin Netanyahu's name on it, and that's just not fair. Again, I'm going to reiterate, I'm streaming live from the Watergate here at the nation's capital. I'm teamed up also with Watergate Capital, and we are taking over now refineries and other oil companies, and it is snowballing. You're going to be able to contact George Hedling, Eric Walcott, and Hamza Wardiri. And with these three men, we can basically take over and do any tax write-off you want to. When I drill, it's an 85% tax write-off. That's not going to help you now because we're approaching the end of tax write-off season. But I just wanted you to know with the fresh thing that we're doing, it's looking pretty good for all of us. Now, you haven't seen me for the last couple of days. I've been very upset. And the reason is a very dear friend of mine passed away. And he's behind me here. His name is Mel Novak. And Mel Novak, he was always the bad guy in many movies. You can see him here from Bruce Lee's Game of Death. He was a hitman on a lot of stuff. But Mel was the best and my favorite preacher in the world. And he would preach in Skid Row, LA County Jail, every prison. And I've never known another man who had not only memorized the Bible so well, but applied it. And it didn't matter if it was Pelican Island, CMC, California Men's Colony, CRC, every prison he visited and passed out Bibles. And one of the big verses he would always teach people that were looking at life or time was Ephesians 6:10, the armor of God, to make sure that your feet are shod in the armor of God, and that you wear your breastplate of righteousness, your shield of faith, your helmet of salvation, and that word that shields us from every fiery dart of the evil one is this word of God that we've been given. And it's amazing. So just shield yourself with the word of God more than anything, especially now. And I didn't want to lose Mel, but by losing one of the best, it tells me that I have to continue with ministry myself, because I learned from the best, and I know that's what Mel would want me to do. And so as I've come here to Washington, D.C., I see from Los Angeles and Skid Row over to Skid Row here in D.C. that we can do better than this. And we're a nation under God, and we need to bring that back, because the more we bring back the nation to be under God, the more we don't have people living under bridges that are forgotten about. The more we take care of ourselves and our own citizens and not illegal aliens, we protect the posterity of America, and then we're able to do unto others the way that we want done ourselves. We got to protect our way of life, and we've got to help our fellow man here. In the Constitution, it talks about posterity. Most of us don't know what that word means, and that means that the rights of my children as a citizen come over the rights of an illegal alien. And it's under those posterity violations and enforcements that grant the Constitution its power to our congressmen and our senators and the president. So how is it that this group of criminals are regulating us when they're violating the opening preamble of the Constitution itself? They're violating the general welfare. They're violating an open border. We're not being protected. They're violating every single aspect that gives them the right to tax our money. And we got to protect ourselves. But God, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for giving us Mel Novak. Someone, could you pet David out there? Thank you. Anyways, this is my buddy Mel, and Heart of Gold, they just don't make actors and just people like him anymore. He's just so fantastic. And I'm going to have to pick up somebody because he's making a lot of noise right now, but we were struck. They tried to hit the USS Laboom. You're going to see the missile fly off, and also our response here. It's pretty exceptional. Check it out. Alrighty, so you can see basically how good it is, but we had a response, and then also we went back and then blew them out of the ground. And that's how we're grounding and pounding. And but I wanted you to know the USS Harry Truman had been taking surprise attacks. So remember, if you're out there, Navy, you have about 29 seconds. You cannot snooze while you're on duty. These are not Houthi war munitions. These are not Iranian war munitions. You're actually looking at some of China's arsenal being used through the Houthis. When our government wakes up, it'll be nice, but they're usually at least a couple of months behind general society or even me on my intel, which sucks. It sucks to high heaven. Pray to God that Russia's not going to use their gear against us, because we have no defense on over 9 of his missiles that go from Mach 9 to Mach 15 with multiple entry vehicle man guns. We just can't do it. At this point, I want you to know it's a proven fact, and I've got all the intel on it. Russia could smash us. We need to be a little bit more considerate until we catch up in the game. We've been asleep at the wheel for the last 4 years, and during that time, all of our military munitions were used by the enemy, by Ukraine, given to the Taliban, and we don't have any other options. If Russia and China want to retaliate, Trump, this is your warning. We're going to get annihilated. This is just a fact. I'm advising right now for you to talk to your generals, all your generals, your admirals, your top admiral, including my brother. Get the lead out of your ass and do a U-turn right now. And if you don't, we have the ability to get smashed. When you want to go back and get reorganized, why don't you get rid of the stupid street sign in front of the Saudi embassy that says Jamal Khashoggi? Why don't you call it King Fahad? Why don't you call it MBS? Why don't you be respectful for our allies, or understand we don't have allies? But you're risking 50,000 troops that could be eliminated in an hour over a stupid street sign by a guy that is damn sure not anybody I would call a journalist. I'd call him a stupid actor from Saudi Arabia who got what he deserved. I'll repeat that. Jamal Khashoggi is a stupid actor from Saudi Arabia who got what he deserved. He disrespected his king, and his king dealt with him the way kings from his country deal with people, period. The more people that are dealt that way might understand, and we might have respect that's shown for kings and queens and dictators. But that's called something that we should do for for the people that have violated our Constitution here in the United States of America. Again, we have basically criminals going hard at it. I would like to send my deepest thanks to Nancy Mace, to Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. You got some work to do up there for, Tina Peters. Senator Kennedy, thank you. Rand Paul, thank you. And Jim Jordan, all of you are invited to be with me on American News Network. The rest of you are not tits on a board, and you can kiss my ass, and you should be fired. Okay, we got maybe 10 that I haven't thought of, but other than that, America is very upset. We do not want to go to war, and we don't need to constantly go to war for Benjamin Netanyahu. So Iran is ripped open secrets. We have a meeting. Oman is meeting right now, but I tell you, meeting or no meeting, we cannot get into these ridiculous wars at the whim of Benjamin Netanyahu. I hate to say it, Trump, it looks like he's got you by the balls or something, and this guy owns you. That's not attractive. This guy shouldn't own you. We need better relations with Erdogan, with Egypt, and with Saudi Arabia. If you want to strengthen and satisfy $1.50 gas in the United States, I'm an oil man. I'm going to tell you that's the only way that which you're going to go. We have a failed petrodollar. We don't need to fail it even further. And understand, by doing that, you're solidifying the enemy and making it to where we can't take over the Panama Canal and Greenland. So take your pick. You want the Panama Canal and Greenland? Well, then drop your war with Iran. Now that's when I'm coming to you here, and these are just facts. Also, I want you to know that we have too many damn things that are being rained down on us, and there's just few people talking about it. I want to thank Clayton Morris at Redacted bringing this up, but the chemtrails and what we're noticing coming out of the sky in America are next level poison, and we got to get to the common denominator, and we will have our day. And we can't let companies get by with this stuff because we're seeing metal particulates. This isn't just cloud seeding. Okay, there's smart chips, smart dust, and all this other stuff that's coming out, but it's straight out poison. We've got to regulate our skies, the chemtrails, and I wouldn't doubt if we're going to find India and Chinese and other companies from other countries behind all these dangerous chemtrails, and we got to stop them because it's straight on out poison, and it's happening like crazy. Over in California and over various other, states. Just like I said, Zelensky, he's just an actor. As soon as we pulled out, the guy's crumbled. This guy is gone. Putin has totally kicked his ass into the dirt. I don't want Zelensky or Netanyahu living in Miami. They've already ripped us off hundreds of millions of dollars. They do not care about Americans. They think that they're the chosen people. Okay, and I want you to know something. They're not chosen. They were chosen up to Jesus Christ, and they had Jesus. And now if you believe in Jesus, you shall be saved. So if you're a Jew out there and you believe in Jesus, more power to you. If you know that the best Jew that ever lived was Jesus, more power to you. If you think that he was fake, guess what? Do you realize we would not have given you Israel, you dumbasses, unless we believed in Jesus Christ? And that the United Kingdom and the United States back in the 40s were 100% believers in Christ, and because we believed, we gave you nitwits Israel, only for you guys then for 80 years to blow up every single neighbor around you and not practice Jesus' message, to treat your neighbors the way you want to be treated yourself. So I'm recommending America to step back until these people can respect their neighbors, because I'm sick of seeing Arabs and Muslims treated bad in Israel. I'm sick of seeing Christians spit on in Israel. These Zionists have taken it too far. And even all of the rabbis here in America say the same thing. We are not Benjamin Netanyahu. We know what is in the Pentateuch in the first 5 books. We know the 613 laws, and we know, Benjamin Netanyahu, that you're violating your own laws. Now that's what I'm going to say, but more importantly, if you're not a Christian, we really don't care about your thoughts, and we're not obligated to save any of you. You're obligated at this point to try to save yourself. And that's the only thing I'm going to say. And who's going to basically do it? I'm going to tell you what's really going to happen. If you think that we're going to attack Iran, what is going to happen is Erdogan is going to activate Turkey. Saudi Arabia is going to activate Saudi. Egypt is going to activate Egypt, and they're going to triangular raid the crap out of us and destroy us with our own equipment because they've purchased our best equipment over the last 25 years. Who do you idiots think you're fooling? When Obama got out of office, he gave the king all of our top stuff. Do you honestly want to fight your own gear? This is why I'm asking Congress and the Senate to immediately change the name of Jamal Khashoggi here in Washington, D.C. to King Fahd Avenue or to MBS Lane. But you better get rid of this street sign, and you better do it this month, because there's a lot of soldiers, a lot of United States soldiers. They're going to die over your humor, and then you're going to go back to him, and he's going to smirk, and he's going to think, what don't you retards get? All these opinions are my own, of course. That's why there's no commercials. There can't be. I'm not for sale. You can share this, broadcast this, put this on any news radio network that you can. Pretty soon you'll be able to go to Watergate Capital. Again, we got George and Hamza and Eric that are on it. We're taking over refineries now and any production company, any operator in the United States. We're going to be drilling like thunder in Australia. I need an Australian firm out there to open up a corporation company account for Christopher Sanders. Contact me. Our offices will contact you. We have over 100 million ready to drill. Our associates over there have already poked 370 holes in Australia, so we're going to keep it up and make them successful for you. These will be on the land, and as you know, your other option is the pipeline coming in. And that would be a better option, except for China is encroaching pretty hardcore onto your shores. So again, I'm for the arming of guns for the citizens of Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and Ireland, and you need to do it quickly. This is so that Americans can come and work in your country and actually feel safe to work there. If not, we don't know what we're going to do. But these are the things that are happening today as the United States threatens Iran once again. Friends and family, thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders, streaming live from the Watergate in Washington, D.C. I'll be here for meetings with certain politicians going through the halls of Congress and the Senate. So reach out to me if you want to be on the show, but understand my questions are for the people of the United States of America. I want you to have a good time in life. Don't get too stressed out and know that evil is coming, because evil has always been here. And until we make lobbying illegal, we will not kick Israel out of our halls, because what they've learned to control is a violation of the book itself, as they tax interest onto their own brothers, their own allies, and our own tariffs. It's ridiculous. People that are our allies taking our stuff shouldn't be charging us tariffs. So why are we allowing them, even Israel, to charge us a 200% tariff on stuff? I thought you were our allies. No, our allies are countries like Japan, and right now we need to let Japan have the right to build up their military so that they can take on China, because I have a feeling they're going to take on China, North Korea, and smudge them out into the dirt like you've never seen before. Mark my words. God bless, Gambate, and try to do your best at home. Remember to give Grandma and Grandpa a hug, because you kids are what we live for. Amen. And that's news right there, because we're going to take over Afghanistan and get our stuff back from the Taliban. Mark my words. Understand, General Miley? That was treason, buddy. And we're going to address you soon. Orange man good with watermelon balls, coming back to you loud and strong.